Hi guys, you're welcome to the Lore Studios. This is another episode of Android Programming. We'll be talking about recommended practices for user input. We'll be looking at handling the keyboard input. Every text field expects a certain type of text input, such as an email address, phone number, or just plain text. So it's important that you specify the input type for each text field in your app so the system displays the appropriate soft input method, such as an on-screen keyboard. We'll be talking about when we are trying to specify the keyboard type for phone numbers, for passwords, and even enabling spelling suggestions and other behaviors. So I'll actually be creating short snippets just to explain those input method type. So right there in Android Studio, I'll be creating a new project where I'm actually going to call it input type. Click next. Phone and tablet. Let me opt for the basic activity where I'm going to have the content main. Click next, and let's finish this up and create the structure for the phone and tablet. I will try to integrate the phone. If you like an input method for entering the phone number, you have to use the phone value. So I'm actually going to show you on how to do that. And afterwards, we talk about the password. And the last but not the least will be about enabling spelling suggestions in your text or edit text input. So we have the project right ready. I'll be moving straight to the rest because that's where we need to look at. We have the activity main and the content main. And let's get to look at the preview. And I'll be actually showing each example right there in an Android emulator so that we'll be able to follow along on what we really have. So right there in the content main, I'm actually going to integrate the text to display, it's going to actually display for phone. So I'm actually going to change this text view to an edit text. It's actually before phone number with an height, let's say field parent, or let's say wrap content, and the height should be wrap content as well. Android 8, this will actually show a sort of slight intro on what the particular text field is. That's at string phone int, so I have to actually put that right there. It should be phone int. I need a capital letter. So I need to actually create that right there in the strings. String name, which will be phone int. Let's enter phone number. That's fine. Back to the content main of the set. Now I'm going to include something here quickly, which is the Android input type. Very important. So we're specifying that this input type should be phone numbers. So this is very important, and this is just how to specify an edit text that will actually hold on to phone numbers or hold on to numeric values. So this is just it. I will actually be testing this out so that we'll see what we're actually doing right there in the emulator. So right there in the emulator, if you should notice, can you see the input edit text? Enter your phone number is the int. So if I should type in something, I was trying to type in alphabetical words, you can see it's actually not coming out because I need to type in numeric. Even if can you see that? You can see the keyboard being called out is 1 2 0. You can see alphabets. You can use alphabet right inside, even if you decide to key in any alphabet words. Alphabets will never show up. I'm even trying to strike my alphabet keys, but they kept showing numeric values. So that's just how to specify and edit text, to be precise to numeric values. So let us incorporate and edit text for password. So if you're coming up with password, you want a password field, don't just add code or just leave it with bare alphabets. Make sure you specify the right input type. So we'll be doing that now. With the night, let's wrap content. Let's assign an ID. ID is always very important because this will be the reference when you are calling these right inside the Java code. That's the essence of ID. So let me add concatenate with ID. So give the ID password. Take away this. I have a slightly rendered problem, but that's fine. Now we have an ID of password. We're going to give Android input type, which will be what will it passing text password. That's what they call it, text password. Just this way, and you have it set up right. So I'm actually going to assign an ID to this particular portion so that we'll be able to float the password below the phone numbers. So we have it set this way. So now I'm going to call Android layout below, which is actually going to be below the phone, so that it's not going to overlap the phone edit text. So right here I'm going to set a margin, so that'll be a space, layout margin, bottom, let's give it 30 dp, so that'll be a large space. So let's get to test this out right there in the emulator. No. So we'll have it set. I'm actually going to run this. I'll start the app. So it showed up in the emulator for us to actually see the new change, and it's actually going to include the password now. So this is just how to this input type, very important. The same thing we had for the phone. You can set the input type for the phone. You specify the input type for password, and that's actually going to pass in password. So let me go back to my emulator to actually see it flow. The text for phone number, layout below, hide the phone, password. I think this margin bottom is quite too large. Give it 5 dp, and let me try to restart this again. So that starts writing an emulator. So right there we have it. Can you see the text? This is for password. So if you're trying to pass in a password, let's say this is the password, is going to come out in asterisk. Can you see it? It's the password. So it doesn't show numeric values, as in numeric values doesn't stay. This is showing that we are using the password input field. So that's how to set up a password input field. Very important. These are just basic practices when you're using user input, and also when we talk about the keyboard input. Make sure you adhere strictly to this specification. So let's look at one more. If you want to enable spelling and suggestions, the input type attributes allow you to specify various behaviors for the input method, as we all know. Now you have to actually put in some values like text cap sentences, text autocorrect, and so on. So let's get to integrate when you want to enable spelling suggestions. Go back, type in the edit text, we need that. Layout with an item content. Now we need to assign an ID, Android ID, which will be equals to, let's just give the message. That's fine. Now we must specify its input type, which will actually be text, cap sentences, and also text. That'll be a sort of synthesis, and also text autocorrect or autocomplete. You can specify autocomplete, you can specify autocorrect, text cap sentences and text cap autocorrect. So that's fine. So this is how to actually set up the input type. Let's get to look at this, but we still need to lay the layout below. That's very important, or else it's just going to overlap what we're doing. Layout below. This time is going to be the password, and we're going to actually, that's fine. Let's pass in sort of margin bottom for this. There'll be a space at the bottom, and let's run this right in the emulator to see. So we need to restart the app. So the input type text autocorrect. You can also use autocomplete. You can add up some other things, but we just need to check the spelling. That's why we opt for the autocorrect. So let's get to look at that on the emulator. Just like when you're using WhatsApp, you're using some Facebook Messenger, you can get your autocorrect from the keyboard. The third text field. So let's type in. I want to type in there. Can you see the autocorrect signs telling me the right spelling that's there, not the spelling I'm heading for? Or even if I'm heading for that, is it there for? Or is it there? So I actually specify on there. So I continue with my typing, which I can say is goody. How to spell good? You can see I made a typo. I can opt for good, just to make it corrected, and you continue, and you can see the autocorrect keeps coming up. Auto, is it automobile? Is it automatic? Is it autonomous? Autocorrect. Can you see that telling me this is the right spelling? So this actually helps you spelling, and it's good when you're creating a sort of chat application. You need to specify the text field to use the text cap sentences and text autocorrect input type. Very, very important. So now let's look at one more, whereby we'll specify the input method action. Most soft input methods provide a user action button in the bottom corner that's appropriate for the current text feed. By default, the system uses this button for either a next or done actions, unless your text feed allows multi-line text, just such as with Android input type text multi-line. You can also add that. So let's quickly look at this particular field, which talks about the input method action. So it's actually going to be the last we'll be looking. So another edit text. We layout with an ID, wrap content, specify an ID, very important. We call it search, and we're going to have int. Let's have int. About we call the string. Now we're going to give our hint as search int. I'm still going to have to create that in the search. Ch int. So let me create that in the strings. Call the string name. Let's call this. It must be in par. Search int. So let me just give search as the hint. Back to the content main. Now that's set. Now we need the input type. Should be text. And now I'll need the Android IME options. You can see this? It should be action send over there. That's fine. So you can actually listen for presses on this action button by defining the text field on editor action listener. We'll get to look at that. So let me create this below Android layout below the message. So let me specify layout bottom, Android layout margin bottom as 5 dp, and let me run this right there in the emulator. Let's see what we're talking about, and we'll get to handle this right in the Java class. I'll teach you how to handle the send input method action. Let's get to look at this in the emulator. Can you see the search field? So you click on this. If you should notice, you can type on what to search for. View. Or do you see the send button? No, just to send what you really want this to do. You can see the send coming alongside with the keyboard. That's what we are actually talking about. So now you can easily undo the send action right here in the Java code. So I'll teach you how to do that. So we can go to the Java class. It's actually going to be the main activity. That's fine. We're going to create some fields over here, or let's just create it somewhere here. Let's call the edit text. With edit text, which will be equals to edit text. Now we're going to find the view by ID. Find view by ID, which will be the R ID search. Close that out. Now object creator, which is the edit text. You're going to set on editor action listener, on editor action listener. This mobile will instantiate with the new on editor action listener. Don't need it with the text view. Let's just keep it simple. Now right inside there we're going to have a method which will be the on editor action. It's going to be a public boolean, either true or false. On editor action. So we want to handle this action. Give some parameters. The text view. Give the v. The integer of the action ID. And the key event. You give it an object of events. Now we're going to pass in the boolean handled equals to false. An if statement if the action ID is equals to the editor info, about we call the IME action send. What you're going to do, you trigger the send message method, which can be created to actually handle this, to pick up the message. This is a send message method, and called handled equals to true. So you get to return handled. So right there, you must have a closing parenthesis. So actually this method should be run right inside the onCreate method, because that's when it's being instantiated. So we'll pass it right inside the onCreate method, and we have it this way. So let's import the key event, and let's import the on editor action listener. That's fine. So that's just it. So we trigger the send message. So this send message can be probably a method outside the onCreate that actually triggers the send request. So it can actually be a public void send message, that must actually handle something of this nature. Probably it must, or you pass in a parameter. It depends on what you want the message to be. So just this send message will definitely carry out some action At the click of the send, probably you need to push in the edit text values, probably to the server or to somewhere, or you just need it to save it somewhere. That send message can actually do something different. So, but this is just how to undo the send button, which is this over here. A click on this should trigger something. Can you see it was trying to uh, deliver an action which was not actually handled. That's just it. So the send message will definitely undo where this is going to. But this is just how to initialize the edit text, set the on editor action listener to this and instantiating, and you will have the on editor action method whereby you have three parameters: the text view, the action ID, the key event. So this if statement will test if the action ID is equals to the editor info of the IME action send, and now the send message, which is actually a different method to carry out the instruction or to do something with the edit text value. It can actually be at the launch of the send message, please call an intent to pass to another activity. Anything whatsoever can be passed into the send message to actually finish up the request of the send click. So this is just how to create some of the major input feeds, which is the first we talked about the phone, the second the text password, and the third we talk about the spelling when you need to enable spelling suggestions, and the last is when you specify the input method action right inside the keyboard input fields. So thank you very much for hanging out with me throughout this tutorial. I hope you understand and get one thing or the other right inside this analysis. So please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Stay glued to Delaware Studios. A lot of training, a lot of videos, a lot of insights are still coming right in stock for you when it comes to Android development. Have a blessed time.